Bright lights, gold lights, shining down upon a sumptuous floor. A big white marble staircase goes up the north wall onto a balcony that goes around this huge hall. Wealthy patrons and diners look down on a red carpet underneath several gaming tables of dice and cards and gambling. Indeed, this is the Sea Nimbus Lounge, the pride and joy of the Protean Hotel, a premier hospitality location for the wealthy, the tycoons, the elite. Hello and welcome. The Parasitic Protean Hotel is the title of a Dungeons & Dragons game I'm running at Now Boarding Cafe in Bangalore. If you don't know, Dungeons & Dragons is a collaborative storytelling game where the players all play a character each and I play the world they're in. We use pen, paper and dice to make decisions. That's it. I've been running 1 episode and 4 episode stories at the cafe professionally for 1.5 years now. And I kind of want to do a longer story, but you have the logistics issue of having players keep coming back. So instead, I'm trying to make the story work with whoever shows up to play. We are discovering the story as we go. This past Saturday, we ran the first session with 6 players, and here's what we discovered. The only preparation I took into this game were the following. A brief outline of the location, the Protean Hotel. It has a place in my larger fantasy world, but none of that is relevant right now, so forget it. It's a prestigious hotel where important people come by invitation. The hotel has a casino called the Sea Nimbus Lounge, and I wrote a description for it. Second, 2 dice games for the casino. I'll show you that in a second and you can just play it if you want. And third, a villain, a vampire called Laszlo Marasian. What's he up to? His casino puts people in debt, and when they're in severe debt, his cronies will gently pull that person to the side and take them to the medical center where they make a small donation of blood and we'll forget about the debt, yeah? That's the only preparation I went in with, because stories are about characters and we cannot create a story without the characters on whom the camera is focused on most of the time, the players. Since this is episode 1, I'll explain dice to you now so that you understand the story later. Plus you get a couple of fun mini games out of it. This is a set of polyhedral dice, 7 dice. You can get them in metal or in acrylic, and they're called by their highest number. So I've arranged them here. You can see the highest is a D20, D for dice, D20, D12, a D10, and then another D10 for the tens unit so that they together become a D100. Right? This is a D8, D6, your normal 6-sided die, and D4, and how you read that is the number at the top of the pyramid. You can use these dice in different ways in different games. In Dungeons and Dragons, I'll just remove this for a second. In Dungeons and Dragons, we use the D20 the most, right? About 90% of the time. It's only in combat with like weapon attacks and those sorts of things we use the different dice like the D4, D6, D8, and something for HP. But this is what we use, and I'll explain 4 pieces of jargon to you quickly. So in D&D, you have like the number you roll is called the natural number. So this is a natural 15, right? Obviously on a D20, the 20 is the best result. So a natural 20 is always something worth celebrating because that's the best possible result. And then on the other side, you have the natural 1, which is always the worst result. So something catastrophic will happen when you roll a 1. 2 other pieces of jargon just so that you know for future use. But in D&D, if sometimes you're doing better in a situation, I might ask you to roll with advantage, which means you roll 2 and choose the higher number, or disadvantage if you're doing badly, choose the lower number. So if you roll this with advantage, this is 15 and 19, it's quite good. 19 would be what you choose in advantage, 15 would be what you choose in disadvantage. Now coming to the casino games I made. The first one is Blackjack, quite simply. In Blackjack, since you have the cards go up to value in 10, so you can just use 2d10 for that. So for example, the thing I opened is 8 and 7, 15. Do I want to hit or do I want to stay? To hit, I will roll another d10. So suppose I hit, there's 3, so 18. I can hit again if I want. Let's hit, let's see if we bust or not. But d10, 3, 21. So there's a Blackjack. And you can obviously, before rolling each die, you can do a round of betting or however you want to do betting in Blackjack. So this is how you play Blackjack with dice. And then the other game that I created This is an original. I called it Baccalette in the session, but Baccalette already exists, so we'll call it Baccalette, right? And for this you need a D8, a D6, and a D4. The way this game works is you put in a pot, then everybody rolls the D8 secretly. So for example, I rolled an 8. Great. Based on this, I can then do a round of betting, right? How I think. And then we roll the D6. 4 here. Round of betting, and then we roll the D4. Right? And you reveal and then you take. Now here's the twist in this game. So the highest total wins. The total here is 12 plus 3, 15. This is the total, highest total wins. However, the twist is if you roll a double, like 2 digits the same, then you'll add them and multiply by 2. So in this case, if I rolled a 4, 4, 3, so this is 4 plus 4, 8 into 2, 16 plus 3, 90. And if you roll a triple, which is 4, 4, 4 or 1, 1, 1 or however, you add them and multiply by 3. You triple them. So this is 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 into 3, 36. This is the best possible result with your dice. So the fun thing about this game is if you roll high on the D8, sure, that might be good. However, if you roll within like a 1, 2, 3, 4, you have a chance of a triple, right? So even a low number you can bet on to test your luck. Try this game out. I hope you enjoy it. And now back to the other video. Now we come to the game this past Saturday. It became a 4-hour session with the first 1.5 hours spent just getting everybody's baseline characters in place. For this, we used this new custom character booklet that I made because the official Dungeons & Dragons character sheet can be overwhelming for new players. So I've just divided it into like separate pages that are like easier to understand. And we spent some time filling some of it, not all of it, because again, that's too much. So we filled in just the class and heritage of a player, like their race, whether they're an elf, dwarf, human. We used the ancestries in my world and the classes from D&D, and then we rolled for some stats and they made some choices on what they are good at. That's it. So to jump into the story, I will be using these very nice, beautiful notes and drawings made by one of the players. Their character is called Mia. I'll be referring to all players by their character names. So I'll be looking at the notes here. You can see them on your screen, so I'm not looking at the camera right now. We open the scene with an intro like the one at the start of this video at the Protean hotel, and we set up the casino. We see Laszlo walking around this. He's an Nanavi. He's an elfish type character with like pointed ears, pale skin, strong cheekbones, slicked back hair, popped red collar on a black suit. We introduce the players. So the spotlight shines at a particular table and we zoom in on one character. Here's our first player, T, Tommy, otherwise known as T. He is a lightning jinling, which means like he is a human, but he has a lightning jinn in his ancestry somewhere. And he's poor and he's trodden down on his luck. He has very little money. And he's here trying to he's in severe debt to the casino and he's on his last legs. The camera pans over to a suave, well-groomed looking person in a very expensive suit. And this player is Gustavo. And he's one of the other players. He wants to play essentially a billionaire Elon Musk type character. And so he is the owner of the hotel. Right? And he's also at this table playing this game. And we finally cut to Nico, this again like young, suave looking character who he runs a different casino called the Sinclair. He is a former protege of Laszlo Marician, and he knows Laszlo's secret that he's a vampire. So he's trying to like find a way to sort of fix that situation, and he's just here at the hotel today. These three players, they play a game of Baccalette in which Gustavo and T play with the house. The house is represented by Ringil, who's this NPC that I'm playing, this dwarven character, and Oron. So again, like a beard, mustache, dark skin, similar like red and black suit, which is the uniform of the people of the Sea Nimbus Lounge. So they play a game of Baccalette. T loses it all. He lost horribly. Gustavo wins, he increases his money. And as T is sort of looking around on what to do, the fourth player comes to the table, Vanessa. Vanessa Esmeralda is this sort of heiress of a rich family, and her family has sent her to this event at the hotel to find a potential partner, right? A husband or a wife or whoever. But Vanessa is secretly not very interested, but she's here. One of her suitors is Laszlo, the owner of the lounge. So Vanessa comes in and she's not paying attention. And T says, hey, I want to swipe some money from Vanessa's pot that she's come to the table with. He decides comedically, I'm going to swipe all the money. So he makes a roll to see whether he's able to discreetly swipe that money. And Vanessa, Gustavo, Nico, and Ringil, all the other people at the table, they roll to see whether they notice. Thankfully, he manages to roll really high and nobody notices as he just swipes all that money. Even though he went all in on the previous hand and he suddenly has money, and Vanessa doesn't know what, Vanessa's like, oh, I must have forgotten. Nico then makes a pledge on Vanessa's part to the table to she's a guest of Laszlo, so if the table could reimburse her, Nico makes a roll that we call a persuasion roll. He tries to convince me, the NPC, to reimburse her. He succeeds, she gets some money. The camera stays on Nico next as he gets up from the table and he moves to a different table. And at that table, we see Mia, the next character. We see an NPC called Desiree. Her name is Desiree Baptiste. This sort of beautiful lady with a blonde bun tied up, who is wearing this like red dress, but from like in her sort of shoulders and back are all quite developed. Like she's strong. She's not some random lady. She's well built. She's tall, beautiful older lady, also sitting at this table. And so Nico strolls to this table. He meets Desiree. He meets Mia, and we briefly see Asta, who is this red dragonborn, who's one of the other players, who's the sixth player. He's sitting at this table and he's like counting cards, and we just briefly see that. That's all we see. And then Laszlo walks up to this table to sort of talk to Nico and Mia. We see next Mia is intrigued in Nico after she learns that Nico worked with Laszlo. Mia has her own business with Laszlo, in that her story is not revealed yet, but in the backstory we decided she has a sister who worked with Laszlo and then she died. And Mia, who is a author, what was it she wrote? She's an author and former thief, and also a vampire. She's a little wealthy, but she's willing to lose it all to find out about the hotel and how her sister died. And so she's now interested in Nico because she learns that Nico worked with Laszlo previously. Meanwhile, Ringil takes, like the Baccalette table takes a break. Ringil goes on a break, and T and Gustavo are getting up and leaving. We see T ask for Gustavo's number. Like he knows Gustavo's the owner of the hotel, and Gustavo's player is trying to make it that, oh, I can't give interest. Like I don't want my number given out to random poor people, essentially. And so he says, oh, like I'll give him a business card, but I keep half business cards with a fake number and half with a real number. And I mix them up randomly because when I give these out, you need some luck to be able to reach me, is what this player says, is what Gustavo says. And then T says, okay, I'm going to pull out my phone and try this number right now. To which Gustavo reveals his true inclination. And he says, oh, I'm going to call my assistant and tell her to turn off her phone. And so the player is trying to avoid the other player. And I'm like, well, okay, but you've now done this in the scene with the other player. In front of the other player, you've called the assistant and said, turn off your phone. So the other player reacts and he says, what the fuck? And he gives a lot of expletives to this player, turns around and walks away, which is when his class comes into play. He's chosen a warlock class, and we say, your warlock patron. A warlock is somebody who gets magical powers from a non-god but somewhat powerful deity, right? And the player asked me, okay, who's the deity who's this magical creature that I get my powers from? I said, we'll discover that in the story. So he has this high emotional moment where he curses out on the other players, turns and walks away, and that's when his powers reveal. We have him roll on a table to see who his patron will be. He just happens to pick a genie patron, and he himself is a genie character, a lightning genie, remember. So as he's walking away, a silver ring, like a loop of silver, appears around his finger and solidifies into a ring. And as the ring solidifies on him, he disappears. And everybody rolls to see whether they see it, and they all see it. So we cut. We will come to that in a second. So this is a power that he's activated now. He disappears from the thing. Let's cover that actually next. So he appears in this ring-shaped sort of empty room, right? So it's a corridor long room which has a couple of cushions on it, but that's it. It's empty right now. It's a space, and this is his ring acts as a genie's bottle in which he can go in once a day. That's his power from the D&D system. So we describe that space as an empty thing, and we have him roll to see if there's something in it already. He rolls well and he gets a weapon out of it. And so he describes it as, I want to have here not a treasure chest, but a single bedside table with a drawer in it. With the idea being, eventually I'm going to make this my house, and I'm going to put in like beds and stuff. I'm going to bring it into this magical space, but it starts with one bedside table. And he opens the drawer inside, and inside he finds this beautiful khopesh, which is a Egyptian like sword axe weapon, an ancient weapon. And he rolls very well on it, and it's a magical weapon. It's a lightning based khopesh weapon that he has. So this is all stuff that's coming from his D&D character. We just discovered it in the story and we made it. Meanwhile, outside of this magical space, as the ring falls, Laszlo notices this is happening, but Mia, as Laszlo is looking at that area, Mia notices on Laszlo's neck 2 bite marks, and she is trying to make sense of that. We roll for it, and she succeeds, and she realizes, hey, wait, that's weird. He is the head of the vampire coven, as she knows. Right, she is trying to understand this whole vampiric system they've set up in this hotel. He's the head. How is anybody biting him? So she discovers that mystery. The ring, she thinks, okay, this might be something that might be helpful. So she tries to distract Laszlo to keep his attention towards herself. She and Vanessa, we see here. So now all the other players are in place. Mia attempts to distract Laszlo from the ring because she thinks that's something she can use. So she casually calls attention to the puncture wounds on his neck, hoping that it'll be something that will catch his attention. Meanwhile, Laszlo is interested in Vanessa, being one of her suitors. So Vanessa tries flirting with Gustavo, and with Laszlo, he intervenes, and she says, oh, you know, the hotel and the niceties are there. And Laszlo says, that's something you could get used to if you wanted. And Vanessa here believes Laszlo is still interested in her. So T's ring falls to the ground. Due to Vanessa and Mia distracting Laszlo, he doesn't notice. We end with T getting his khopesh weapon. So this is what happened in episode 1 of the Parasitic Protean Hotel. So in summary, what did we discover about the story? Within the story itself, we discovered the following. Our story takes place in a premier hotel. The casino of that hotel, the Sea Nimbus Lounge, is run by a vampire, Laszlo Marician. Tommy, aka T, has caused a stir by disappearing in the middle of the game floor and has gained a new ring and some new powers, possibly from a genie, possibly an ancestor. Mia, who's here for revenge for her sister, and Vanessa, who's looking for a partner but not really, both notice bite marks on Laszlo's neck. We have Nico, Gustavo, and Asta still finding a line of action in the story. And we met 2 NPCs. Ringil, a dwarf who runs the Baccalette table and is part of Laszlo's crew, and Desiree, this well-built, beautiful older lady who knows some of the players. Outside the story, we've discovered the following. I should really ask my players to help with stuff. Like, look at these beautiful notes that Mia put together. I might ask other players to do other things, like possibly record a clip or something for future videos like this so that you can see parts of the game, like cool scenes. And secondly, we've learned that if you are in Bangalore, you can come play at Now Boarding Cafe. Just hit me up or the cafe up on Instagram, here somewhere. Or if you're not in Bangalore and would like to play online, I can set up an online game probably within the casino itself and run it, and I'll open it up to the other players who are in the cafe group. Thank you so much for watching episode 1 of my recap of the Parasitic Protean Hotel. I will see you next time.